Hello, good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you are. I'm excited to be with you guys today. It's been a while, and I know that we're going to have an awesome time. So please, if you can share this to your friends and family, just put it on your status. So let's have a conversation on an interesting topic. Marriage is quite an exciting thing. And as you know, marriage is facing a lot of challenges. Most times people are giving up, people are not able to fully see the light at the end of the tunnel, probably because of what they're going through, because of what they have seen, of read, of observed, or even what they have personally encountered. And as a result of that, they're not fully able to allow themselves to go through marriage and actually make it exciting. So, nice signs your marriage is working. That's what we're going to be talking about today. But just let me know where you are tuning in from on the chat box. We're going to have a chat and just to understand if you can hear me clearly, especially sometimes these things can disappoint. So let me just know. Can you hear me clearly? Yep. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. I will appreciate that just to make sure that we're good to go. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's see those that can hear me. And thank you for those that might be joining from Facebook and other platforms. I appreciate you joining today. And we know that we're going to have some conversation that's going to be real, practical, and raw to just help us to be better. So just type on the chat box. Let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me clearly, just indicate on the chat box if you can hear me. All right, cool, awesome. Okay, so like I said, we'll be talking about 9 signs that your marriage is working, right? But I want to look at the other side first. What are the 9 signs that your marriage is not working, which is an indication that you need to do something urgently about it? Because if your marriage is not working and these signs are there, but sometimes we ignore them, or sometimes we don't do anything about it, but we just continue to coast and continue to move on without looking at these things, then we're just not going to do anything about it. And the moment you don't do anything about it, it becomes an issue, it becomes a problem, becomes a challenge. So let's take a look at what are the 9 signs that your marriage is not working and needs urgent action and reaction from you in order to make things better. Number one is constant conflict without resolution. You know, there's times in your relationship or marriage where the disagreements over many things, maybe finance, disagreements over parenting, disagreement over anything, really. Instead of you guys finding a third way, finding a compromise, finding a resolution to that specific thing that both of you are not able to properly align on, ends up shouting, or someone withdraws or someone walks away, and you realize that this thing is becoming frequent, is becoming constant in your relationship, and whatever happens, no resolution happens there. So it's you both of you are just carrying on like this. After a while, you just move on. But you know that there are underlying issues, you know that there are underlying things that needs to be addressed. That's a very big problem. So when you have constant, frequent, regular disagreements, misunderstanding, and not able to properly resolve that or find a solution, a compromise, and this is becoming more frequent, then that is showing that the marriage isn't working and you need to do something about it. When also there is emotional disconnection, that's number two. Instead of this feeling of someone is pursuing you from a lady's perspective, or a man can feel connected, or the wife feel emotionally connected with the husband. But the feeling now is more like roommates than partners. Sometimes there's not even any connection at all, no intimacy. There's no desire for each other. There is no balance in the way you feel about each other. And unfortunately, you are not able to share certain things about you. You can be very vulnerable around them. You struggle most of the time to properly articulate and express your feeling. Or maybe while you're in that marriage and relationship, you're feeling so lonely, you're feeling so distant, you're feeling so disconnected. That is an evidence that that marriage isn't working and emotional disconnection is present. And until you do something about it, nothing changes, nothing will change. So this is why it's really, really important that when you begin to notice these things, then you have to do something different about it. Number three, avoidance of each other. This is sad, but it does happen. You know the things are happening. You know that the issues on ground is now making both of you, before you used to spend time together, before you used to prefer to connect intentionally, but you begin to prefer to either stay away from home, or prefer to focus on your hobbies, or you're always on your phone scrolling back and forth, or trying to watch a movie by yourself, or just take something and just get out of the house, or you're always constantly in the gym, and the idea is just to avoid your spouse, is to make sure that you guys do not connect. When you're in a particular room, the other person walks out, or the other person comes in, or you just become silent. You don't want to have any conversation. You don't want to talk. And you know this is done intentionally. This is done in a way that both of you cannot connect properly. This is a problem. This becomes an issue. This is a challenge. And avoiding each other is a sign that that relationship, that marriage, need a bit of urgent revamp. Because if you continue like this, it's going to cause a lot of issues. Number four is lack of physical intimacy. Physical intimacy is supposed to be part of marriage, part of people being together. Okay. And but when it's no longer there, there's no hugging, there is no hold handing, there is no physical sexual intimacy has gone. That physical affection is no longer there, it's non-existent. It's a sign that something isn't working. Some couples go weeks, days, sometimes even months, no physical intimacy, no connection, and both of them just don't want to address it. They just leave it the way it is. They've come to a point whereby they are just so in that state where they don't even want to talk about it, don't even want to do anything. They've numbed that side of them. It's a problem. And the purpose of this YouTube live today is just to remind you and to make you understand that when you are in this particular situation, you cannot continue like this. You have to come back and ask yourself, what's going on here? What is happening? Because the more it continues, it becomes more difficult to deal with. Number five is resentment and bitterness. Okay. This subtle dislike towards your spouse, this bitterness holding you bound in the heart. Okay. You have this lingering anger, you have these unresolved issues that create this atmosphere of constant tension, inability to fully trust your spouse again. And you know that this mentally is draining. And most times you only focus on the things they've done wrong. So your mental state becomes a catalog of all the mistakes your partner is doing, all the mistakes your wife or your husband is doing. And constantly you are replaying it in your head, you are replaying the past hurts. And these things can even come out when you guys are arguing, when you are having misunderstanding, you're not addressing the specific issue at hand. All you're looking at is the things they've done in the past and how much it's hurt you, this and that, and you constantly remain there. So as that anger lingers, as that anger stays there unresolved, unattended to, resentment and bitterness will continue to grow. And the marriage is an indication that something isn't working. That something needs to be done about your relationship. When you have number six, disrespect and contempt. You know, when you deliberately verbally abuse your spouse about maybe features of their body, you sarcastically make some comments that just shows how disrespectful you are towards them. And maybe because something they have done that had hurt you or had caused you a little bit of pain or misunderstanding, you start belittling them in front of the children, in front of your in laws. You speak and share certain things just to hurt them. You know, when you do something deliberately to create contempt, because of your mockery, because of your abuse, because of your verbal insensitivity, the whole thing in your environment, in your relationship becomes toxic. And you do this sarcasm and mockery over your spouse in front of people. Sometimes you can do that with your eyes. It is where you roll your eyes when your spouse talks, and sometimes you use harsh language, or you even use some comments. You're useless. You're this. Like you literally use verbal abuses on them and call them all sorts of names. Is really, really demeaning. It's so painful when you see this thing happening where there's a lot of name calling, there's a lot of disrespect and discontent, mockery and abuse, maybe to her a family or to her mom, brothers, or in-laws, or job, her business, or her career, or the husband just keep doing this all the time to the wife, or it could be the wife just abusing the husband's state, abusing the husband's her in-laws, creating all sorts of mockery. That is an evidence that you need to do something about your marriage and relationship. Otherwise, things are just gonna get worse. When number eight is indifference towards the relationship, you see all these things are happening. You know these things are not helping the relationship. You know these things are hurting the relationship, but you just become so indifferent towards the relationship. You stop putting effort. Maybe you have tried before, but you just say, now I give up. I don't want to do anything again. I don't want to talk about it again. So anything that is going to help the relationship in any way, you're no longer interested because you've tried in the past many times. Even when somebody offered to support and help, you don't want to listen, you don't want to hear, your heart is so hardened, and you just feel like I've given up, right? So you don't celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, no special occasion anymore. You just don't want to communicate about it. Everything is just one-sided. Or maybe one person is trying or putting effort, the other person isn't doing anything, and they just feel like they should be worshipped, they should be uh, begged to actually make the relationship work. When your relationship and marriage is in that state, it's a proof that something has really gone really, really bad, and you have to step in. You have to do something about it. Otherwise, things are just going to become so toxic, so bad, that both of you will just be so frustrated about the whole relationship. Number eight is growing trust issues. When couples are not able to trust each other fully, you can't say one thing to your spouse, something that you said in confidence, something that you regarded as a confidential thing, but you keep hearing it everywhere. Or sometimes the spouse is just so dishonest. They lie, they lie about everything. And they've done it many times. They say they are sorry, they've been dishonest, they've been holding secrets. A lot of things has done or happened in the past, and the other spouse is so hurt, so offended, and this one continues to be secretive. They keep changing their mobile phone password, they keep changing everything. When you see their spouse, they change, they hide things. It's difficult place to be. That's a sign that that relationship isn't working, and you have to do something urgently about it. When they make some financial decisions, nobody knows about it. They when you start snooping through your spouse's phone, just to look for something that you can see, looking at their WhatsApps, and you're doing it as a check of tactics because you don't trust them anymore. Then that means something isn't right. Where does this lack of trust issue come about? When did it start, and what triggered it? What happened? So when you are not able to fully trust again your spouse, or maybe something has happened in the past that you completely lost trust, and now you are always sitting at the edge. You're not able to be fully present to communicate your mind to your spouse. Number nine, disagreement about core values. When there is constant clash, I mean major clash about career priorities, about parenting styles, about your Christian beliefs, disagreement about core values, this can become a very, very big trouble. I mean, real issue in the marriage or relationship. Okay. If one partner wants to do one thing and the other person doesn't want, or even if he doesn't want it, but there's no way to communicate and balance things up, there's always this issue that only my way is right. I don't want to follow your own way. And their core fundamental values is no longer aligning. We have unique differences, but there are some things that should be core. The honesty should be core, right? You need to find a way to balance things. If parenting your child is going this way by one of the spouse, and the other one is going the other way by one of the spouse, and you realize that you're constantly not agreeing, and this thing is creating more argument, more confusion in your marriage and relationship, then you need to do something about it because it isn't working. So these are nine things, nine signs that shows that your marriage isn't working. Number one, constant conflict without resolution. Number two, emotional disconnection. Number three, avoidance of each other. Number four, lack of physical intimacy. Number five, resentment and bitterness. Number six, disrespect and contempt. Number seven, indifference towards the relationship. Number eight, growing trust issues. And number nine, disagreement about core values. When you see these things in your relationship, then you know that that marriage is in trouble. That relationship between the husband and wife is seriously in trouble, and you have to do something about it. Because if you avoid it, if you dismiss it, if you're in denial, you are only going to allow these things to grow, and it's going to impact the stability of that marriage and that relationship at the end of the day. But that's not the end of what you should do. Just knowing what the problems are, knowing the issues is not the best way to deal with things. You need to find a way on what you need to do to make it better. Okay, this is so, so important. I want to talk about now practical ways to confirm your marriage is working. So how do you know your marriage is working? Because we've talked about ways that shows that marriage isn't working. So when you know that your marriage isn't working in any of these nine signs, doesn't matter what it is, but what can you do differently so that your marriage can start working again? What can you do differently so that things can be different? So practical ways to confirm your marriage is working. Number one, open and honest communication. You cannot fully embrace a working marriage without open and honest communication. When you are able to share your thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment or ridicule or condemnation, when something is happening and you can freely have this honest mutual conversation, very matured conversation with your spouse. Doesn't matter what it is, but you know that you can call their attention, you can schedule a meeting, you can review things, and none of them are dismissing or denying the fact that you have to do something different. And when you see that there's any concern, something that's bothering you, communication in relationship and marriage is a big deal. I wonder how you can walk. I wonder how you can do anything without knowing how to communicate effectively. And communicating effectively is something you can learn. You're not born to communicate effectively. Because if you think about it, even when you are born as a child, you don't automatically begin to speak properly. There's a process of speaking. So no one is born automatically to become an effective communicator immediately. You learn to become a good communicator. So the question now is this: how do you become a good communicator? When your spouse is speaking, do you guys have a plan on how each person must share their thoughts and freely explain things and be open to you? That's open and honest communication. Number two is shared laughter and joy. Shared laughter and joy. You see, it's really, really important that in a marriage, in a relationship, that indicate that is walling, that is working, there's joy and there's laughter. You find joy and laughter in each person's company. And sometimes you laugh together. You let me use this word reminisce, right? Yeah, you reminisce about good times. Even reminisce about your ups and downs, but find humor in it. Because sometimes when we're becoming over serious and we're just carried away by a lot of burdens and negativities and things that is not working, and you're not able to fully enjoy each other's company anymore. You're not able to laugh. You're not able to honor each other in a practical way that just makes you guys feel relaxed. But when you can make somebody feel relaxed around you, when you can make somebody have some level of laughter or find humor and joy just being around you, having that conversation, and not entirely taking everything super serious, that is a sign that something good is happening to that marriage or to that relationship. Number three, mutual respect. It shows that marriage is working. When you treat each other with respect, when you value each other's opinions, contributions, effort, support, affirm it, when you truly, 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 sincerely from your heart, not being hypocritical about it, but you're very honest and direct about how things are and know how you communicate with each other. Doesn't matter what has happened or what you guys are going through, but you find that opportunity to share. And when you do that, you talk to the person with regard, with honor. Talk to the person as someone that value another person, which is really, really important. And mutual respect also shows that each person can express themselves. Each person can be present and can be open about things. Number four is emotional and physical intimacy. Well, this is very important. When you guys find a way to nurture your closeness, find a way to build intimacy, to connect by having these deep conversations, hugging, you know, meaningful conversation that is so practical and so real. And each person is just vulnerable about it. And that shows mutual care and support about each other. That is really powerful. So many marriages today are in big turmoil or suffering because they are not able to build this emotional and physical intimacy. And while you are doing all this, you also spend time to really enjoy each other. And enjoying each other, I mean by having good and quality sexual intimacy, even in that marriage, in that relationship. And emotional intimacy could be activities that you guys do together. It could be time you spend together, having that conversation, talking, expressing yourself. And also in that, each person is careful and respectful and value each other's opinions and conversations. That would really, really help. Number five, conflict resolution without hostility. We know that we're different, and we know that we have different needs, and our opinions and styles might vary because of who we are, because of our wiring, because of our background. Okay, but you do it in such a way that your disagreement is constructive. You're focusing on the solution rather than assigning blame or attacking the personality of your spouse. So instead of yelling, instead of shouting, instead of um, overcausing unnecessary drama, okay, you sit down together to review everything. Find compromise in all you do, and in order to find a way for it to work. We cannot guarantee that we will never disagree. We cannot guarantee that we will never be in a place whereby we'll have different opinions. And if that's not happening, it's very possible that someone is not just speaking their mind or someone is not fully expressing themselves. There's nothing wrong being different. There's nothing wrong having different opinion towards your spouse. The question is, have you guys just analyzed it? Have you discussed it? Making sure that each person speak freely and understand why they are thinking or why their views are in this way. When that happens, it helps the relationship to go better. Number six, shared goals and vision. I mean, you're married. The fact you're married doesn't mean that your goals and visions should die, but it should align with your spouses. You might have your unique goals and visions, but the family, the home, the marriage goals should work in a way that it helps both of you to be fully accountable. It should be family oriented goals and visions. Okay. Um, do whatever you can in order to support each other get to where they need to be. It could be financial goals you set together. It could be fitness goals you set together. It could be parenting goals you set together. Whatever goal you set together, make sure that each person have some level of accountability, some level of involvement in that goal so that they will not feel isolated or feel lonely. They will feel like they are part of what is going on in your marriage and in your relationship. That is going to help the relationship to grow better and to also be more powerful as you continue to engage. So the question now is, are you having shared goals and visions together? Do you have a plan and a strategy that you can use to fuel your strength and your process of getting to where you need to be at the end of the day? Number seven, encouragement and support. A marriage at work shows that you are each other's, top cheerleaders. You must be looking for ways to weather the storm with your spouse. You must find a way to make them feel like you really care about their goals, you care about their life, you care about their state. So encouragement and support is really important. You can't abandon your spouse while you're trying to achieve everything in the world. You can't abandon your spouse while you're trying to become whatever you want to become in the world. It's really important that your spouse feel that you support them on this goal, you support them on this vision, you support them on this dream, and you are there to celebrate them. You're there to acknowledge the fact that they are doing their best for the family, for your home, for the relationship. It's really important to complement each other and let each person know that you are being supportive. This is what makes marriages work. Number eight, prioritize each other. I know that we have a lot of things demanding our time, demanding our intellect, demanding our person. Our lives are very busy in many ways. And when I mean busy, I'm not talking about unproductively busy. I'm talking about productively busy. You have your job, you have your business, you have so many other things that you need to do. It's important whatever you do that you make time for each other to nurture the relationship, because a relationship that is not nurtured is going to die over time. So prioritizing each other is good. Nobody says you shouldn't prioritize your goals, your work, your other areas. And I also want to say that even in the family, don't put the children over your spouse. The children are wonderful. They have a unique place in your hearts, and to ensure that you can support them to grow and to be better. But it's really, really important to also prioritize your relationship. Fix date night. Okay. Have a talking walk together. I mean, find a way to connect emotionally and physically. Be there for each other. Let each person know that they're important in your life. Prioritizing each other is another way to show that your marriage is working. And finally, trust and transparency. Yeah, we talked about lack of trust and the growing lack of trust. Can your wife feel safe around you? Can your husband feel safe around you? If you think about this, you decided to get married, you decided to be in this relationship because you trust them. You trust them for a reason. You didn't doubt them. That's why you get into the relationship. Even if trust has broken, even if there have been some things that prove lack of transparency, you can find a way to build it back. Trust and transparency is really important. You need to be secure in that relationship. You don't need to feel isolated. You don't need to start finding things out by snooping, by manipulating, by coercing, by fight and yelling, by doing some strategic FBI work and CIA work in your marriage. You don't have to go through all that. It's good to be open and transparent, because this will help the relationship to move forward. But if you ignore it, if you don't care, then it becomes a problem. So it's really, really important that you think about certain things in your marriage, in your relationship. So I'm just going to take just a short break, and I will take you action steps to strengthen a struggling marriage. Action steps to strengthen a struggling marriage. So don't go anywhere. I'll be back very shortly. Action step to strengthen a struggling marriage. Right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. So let's talk about some action steps to strengthen a struggling marriage. We've talked about 9 things that shows that your marriage isn't working and you need to do something about it. And then also we've talked about what you can do to make it better. But that's on the area of signs that shows that it's working. So let me just give you some steps to strengthen a struggling marriage. A struggling marriage is basically a marriage that does 9 things that shows that marriage isn't working, exist. We talked about conflict, we talked about trust, communication, intimacy, emotional connections, trust issues, there are all sorts of things. The first thing you have to do to strengthen a struggling marriage, number one, is schedule time to talk about it. I know that sometimes the other spouse will not want to listen, um, but you know them better. And there's a way you can make your spouse know that this is very serious and you cannot continue like this. So plan how you can talk about whatever it is that is bothering you, whatever it is that is an issue. So plan a consistent time. It might not be once to connect without distraction. And you could do this when it's convenient for both of you, in the house, outside the house, whatever it is, but just find time to address underlying issues. Because if you don't address it, then it becomes worse and sometimes irreversible, which is a shame. Now, if you want to talk, you've tried many times to engage the other spouse, to come to the table for you guys to talk about this and address issues, and it's not happening, then get a referee, get a professional support and help. Now, if you have tried that and it's not also working, well, while you are doing this, for the spiritual ones, I think you need to bring this man or this woman before the throne of grace. I mean, from the beginning, actually, you need to do so. Now, this might not sound conventional for a lot of people, but this person is created by a super being, created by a deity, created by God. So even if he feels that he doesn't want to listen to professional support, he doesn't want to listen to both of you trying to find out a way to compromise and move forward, I believe that he has no choice. When God shows up, he has to bow, has to surrender. When you have tried all these first two methods, please, it's important not to discard seeking God as well. And then when you have tried everything thoroughly, and then this man is still hardened, this woman is still hardened, and then that we're going to be having a different conversation. But don't stay in a position that there is nothing else that can be done. Okay, this is where particularly your life is not in danger, and you know that what is happening right now is not particularly going to lead to sudden death. Okay, because life is quite important. That's where we can start having a different conversation depending on the circumstances. So you need to know that this is very key. And when you find that time, number two is to improve your communication. One of the things that makes communication not to work is that both people are talking at the same time. They're interrupting each other at the same time, and they are always judging each other. Oh, you didn't do this. Oh, you did this. And that constant judgment, that constant condemnation, the other person wouldn't want to listen. So even if you have a valid point, even if you have something you want to say to your spouse, but because you're coming from a place of attacking their personality, you're coming from a place of making them very uncomfortable, trying to make yourself a Messiah, a Holy Ghost, a God, a flawless human being, and all the problem is this person, then they're not going to listen, because you can't have good communication if there is no effective, active listening to each other. So ask yourself, am I a good listener? Am I an interrupter? Am I the one that always just attack their personality and not focusing on the solution that we want to seek together? Number three is seek counseling. If this thing continues consistently, seek a professional support. Sometimes the issue is now deeply rooted, and you cannot entirely have a good conversation to unearth what is going on, because each person is so hot, each person is so broken, or maybe one person is so broken in such a way that they do not want to have any communication with you directly. They will need a third party. Then you have to seek that professional support, because it's so key. Now, some people are afraid of seeking professional support. Oh, they're going to know what's going on. Oh, this and that. But We forget that when we are sick, we don't even have time to begin to say, oh, the doctor will know, maybe I have this or have that. We have medical records, and the medical record is protected. It's protected because it's not published on newspapers, it's not published on social media because of Confidentiality Act. We all have medical records. And some of us, only our spouse know our medical records because of transparency and openness. And sometimes the medical report is not even something that we are proud about. Sometimes it is self-inflicted. It's something that we did, and now it's created a lot of problem for us. You don't go about saying to doctors, I will never tell you that, I will never tell you that. Well, unfortunately, if you don't, you're just putting yourself in a compromised situation that can become a big problem. So if you need help, then you need to be willing to open up and address that with a professional marriage counselor. Number 4, express gratitude daily. Make a habit, to appreciate your spouse for the little things they do, for the small things they do. You know, supporting you to prepare me, handling the chores, or doing one thing or the other. Before you start this serious conversation you want to have you looked at what they have done well? You don't want to connect. You just want to start correcting. You don't want to connect. You just want to start dishing out the blame and the attack. What do you expect? They're not going to listen. They're not going to be there allowing you to just put them down and cause them more pain, depending on how this person feel. So be grateful you have a husband, you have a wife. I know most of us would not want to say that because of what we're going through. But regardless, you've got one, right? Let's start from there. Okay. Is there something good in this person? I mean, is there something good? Is there something that is good? Because your husband is not a devil, wife is not a devil, this person you want to marry is not a devil. Is there something good? I think we all have something good. Be grateful for that. And finally, pray. You pray together or you pray alone, depending on the situation at hand. So spouses don't even want to pray with their spouses anymore because there's all sorts of things happening. But the thing is, if you're honest and sincere, I strongly believe that God has mercy on people and God still answers prayer. So don't underestimate the power of sincerely seeking God and let Him do what He will do as a God. Do not underestimate the power of seeking God with all your heart because God can intervene in your situation. So when you recognize signs that your relationship isn't working, and then you recognize that you need to do something about it, the biggest challenge that most couples do have is not having this awakening, or a spouse has not having this awakening. Because if you have the realization, you will know that something needs to be done differently. Then the approach is really important so you don't get things all muddled up or messed up. And at the end, the goal that you wanted at the beginning, you will not be able to achieve it. So this is really, really important. And I hope this has helped and this has supported you to just reflect and think about your relationship and how you can make things even better with your spouse. I want to appreciate those that were able to join, and please share this video with your friends and family. If you have not subscribed here, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you know when we go live and when we have more content to share and to support growing your relationship. I want to say continue to invest in your relationship, continue to invest in your marriage, because when you do, it helps you to build a better capacity to weather whatever comes. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a lovely day wherever you are. God bless you.